Welcome back, everybody, and happy Saturday to you all out there. Hope you are enjoying your weekend. This is Pucks from the Pine Tree Pod. I'm your host, Benjamin Kennedy. Today, we continue our installments of NHL team season previews, going up to Winnipeg to talk about the Winnipeg Jets, coming off what was a very good regular season for them and should be an interesting year coming into 24-25. As we know, coaching changed for them this season. Long-time NHL coach Rick Bowness retiring at the end of the season. Probably one of the nicest people you're going to meet in the NHL. Anybody who has a comment about Bowness has nothing but kind and wonderful things to say about him. Coached here in Boston years ago, made his tour around the league, was a longtime assistant as well as a longtime head coach. So he's off to retirement. His assistant, Scott Arnell, steps in to take the reins. Now, Arnell, of course, did step in for bonus throughout the season last year as Rick had some his own personal health issues and some family health issues to deal with. So Scott's someone who's been an assistant there for a couple seasons, knows his team really well. Should be a very seamless transition for the organization, for the team. Was pretty much a shoe in when Bonus announced his retirement. Scott did coach a couple of years in Columbus as a head coach, has 123 games under his belt, put up a 45, 60, and 18 record in just about a year and a half there in Columbus. And himself has been a long time associate coach, assistant coach, stops in Buffalo with the New York Rangers, also with Washington before his time here in Winnipeg. So, like I said, should be very seamless. The team should be able to adjust very easily to Arnell. I think the styles probably fairly similar. So, um, no surprise here, and should be an easy step for the team to move forward. Talking about the salary cap, right now they do have a full roster, active roster anyway, to all 23 spots are filled, and they still have about 5.78 million under the cap, according to Puckpedia. So this will be something to watch. If this team gets in any injury trouble or if they have some glaring needs as the season goes on, they'll have some space to make some moves to work around that a little bit. So that will be something to watch. No first round pick this season. They did trade that pick to Montreal in the Sean Monahan deal at the deadline a year ago. So no first round additions for them this season. They did have a great regular year though last year. 52, 24, and 6 for the team. They had 110 points. That was good for second in the Central. I think a lot of pundits last year had this team as maybe a wild card team, maybe in that top three. But 110 points was, I think, above some people's expectations for this group. They do get into that first round, however, with home ice advantage. Didn't matter. Lose to Colorado in 5 games. This was hard to watch if you were a Jets fan. After winning game one, which was a bit of a high scoring affair, you lose the next 4 games to the Avalanche. Combined score 22-8. Let me repeat that 22-8. Just not very competitive. Really a great way to dust off the golf clubs and get started on your golf game early. I think very disappointing result. Even if you lose that series, if you're a Jets fan, after the year you just had, you want to see a little bit more competitiveness out of this team, especially when you realize that the team invested in getting to Foley and Monahan, and they brought pieces in this year to try to build around it. Really, kind of a deflating end for the group last year. When we start to dig into their team stats, some different things stand out here. Their goals for they were at 3.16, good for 15th in the league. Their goals against average, no surprise here. They were tied for first with Florida at 2.41. That's all Hellebuck all the time. We'll talk about Connor here in a little bit. But they were a plus 61 in the goals against difference. So really strong efforts there. I was a little surprised their special teams weren't as highly ranked as I would have expected them to be, given they were a 110-point team, but they were 22nd in the power play at 18.8%. And their PK not much better at 21 in the league at 77.1%. I was also a little surprised they were only 24th in the faceoff circle at a 47.6%. Block shots, they were 24th, and hits, they ranked 17th. So, some odd numbers in there for a team that was so high up. Clearly, I think what deficiencies this team had definitely covered up by Connor Hellebuck. Course skaters, no change to this group. This is a veteran group here. Josh Morrissey, their defenseman, last year played 81 games, had 10 goals, 59 assists for 69 points. Mark Sheffley, centerman, played 74 games last year, so did miss a little bit of time. 25 goals for him, 47 assists, 72 points. Nikolai Ehlers played 82 games, so played the full season for him, had 25 goals, 36 assists for 61 points. And Kyle Connor through 65 games, 34 goals, 27 assists for 61 points. So again, he missed some time as well, still put up plus 30 there in the goals. Good overall season for him. Goaltender, Vesna winning, Jennings winning goaltender, Connor Hellebuck. Uh, 60 games played for him, had a 37, 19, and 4 record. So absolutely fantastic record for him at 2.39 goals against a 921 save percentage. That's going to get you the Vesna most years. So good on him. Had 5 shutouts as well throughout the year. So it's just electric, was lights out. He is a bit of a throwback. We'll talk more about him later. They do have some change though with the backup goaltending, where they do bring in Eric Comrie this year. He comes from Buffalo, played only in 10 games, had a 2.70 record, 3.38 goals against, and an 893 save percentage. And Capo Kakinen also comes over from New Jersey, himself only getting into 6 games with a 1-4 record, 2.51 goals against average, and a 923 save percentage. So some change there. Brossois goes out the door. They bring in these 2 guys to back up Hellebuck. The whole goaltending thing and how that's managed, I'll talk about here in a moment, but that should be pretty interesting. Beyond the goaltenders, they also brought in Dylan Coughlin, a defenseman, Hayden Fleury, defenseman from Tampa, forward Mason Shaw, and forward Jarrett Anderson Dolan. Not a ton of movement outside the goaltending, but a few new guys. Some of the departures are kind of tough. Tyler Toffoli, who was acquired there from New Jersey, he's out the door, off to San Jose. Laurent Brossois, goaltender, out the door. Sean Monahan, off to Columbus. Brendan Dillon, as we talked about a couple episodes ago, he is now part of a revamped New Jersey defense. And then Nate Schmidt, off to Florida himself, off to the Stanley Cup winning Florida Panthers. So you'll lose 2 or 3 big guys in there. you know, gonna be hard, I think, to replace Dylan in particular. We'll talk about him more in a second. But guys, despite the losses of Toffoli and Monahan to free agency, I see a lot of offensive depth up and down this lineup. I count up to around 20 players that I think have 20 goal potential this coming season. And really, a strong key to this depth could be Gabe Velarde. I kind of forgotten about for part of the season, but he comes over from the LA Kings in the Pierre-Luc Dubois trade. Only plays 47 games, deals with some injuries last year, but still managed 22 goals, 14 assists, 36-point season. So, if he can get, 75 or so games next season, look to him to be a 30 plus goal guy next season. That could really add to this group, add to this depth. The loss of Brendan Dillon is definitely going to be felt on this blue line. There's no question about it. Last season, he ranked third amongst all defensemen in hits with 241. He played 161 minutes on the PK, roughly half of all possible PK minutes for Winnipeg. And along with that, he ranked 18th amongst defensemen in shooting percentage. So there was an offensive element to his game. I do believe he had 8 goals last season. You've lost a combined 2,500 minutes of ice time between he and Nate Schmidt. Now, where are you going to make that up? That's 2,500 minutes. You do bring in Fleury, but he only played 386 minutes for Tampa last season, and Coughlin only 17 minutes total in Carolina. Now we know that Coughlin was part of kind of an overcrowded room there in Carolina, so maybe he'll have more of a chance in Winnipeg this season for ice time. When you go down to the AHL level, though, Winnipeg also lost Kyle Capobianco to Dallas, signs as a free agent. He played for the Manitoba Moose last year and was an Eddie Shore was voted actually the Eddie Shore Award winner, which is an award given to the most outstanding defenseman in the AHL. Had 54 points in 69 games. So kind of a, I'm sure people in Winnipeg knew this name, but not a name that resonates throughout the NHL. But this could have been a likely replacement option for Dylan. So I think kind of one of those sneaky tough losses for the team. Uh, the team does have Tyrell Bauer down the AHL. He's played 2 years down there, and former second round 2019 draft pick Simon Letmark, who now has logged 3 seasons at the AHL level. So potentially two of these guys potentially could be replacements, make the team up there in Winnipeg this season. We'll see. Any Winnipeg fans out there listening, I'd be really curious your thoughts on any of those names I just mentioned. Who do you think is going to make the team? Who do you think could be a shoe-in replacement for Dylan? Do you have a shoe-in replacement for Dylan? I'm not sure if I see it right now. And I do believe this defensive depth could be one of the primary question marks going into the season here for the Jets. What's not a question mark in my mind is goaltending. Connor Hellebuck is your reigning Vezina winner and traditionally one of the top goaltenders in the league year in and year out. Uh, Hellebuck is a bit of a throwback goalie, playing over 60 games most seasons, and he's been great for the most part. You just don't see this from a lot of teams anymore. You see a lot of split time, a lot of, 55, games, 50 games for starting goaltenders and a backup getting another lion's share, but not the case in Winnipeg. However, it would be nice to see Winnipeg manage this a little bit better as you go through this year. When you look at the numbers in each of the past 2 playoff runs, not great for Connor. Last season he came in at a 5.23 goals against an 870 last season. Remember that 22-8 number I shared with you earlier. But the year prior wasn't a whole lot better at 3.44 goals against average and an 886 save percentage. I don't think anybody's throwing blame at Hellebuck for these playoff failures. However, additional regular season rest could prove beneficial coming into April and May for the team. They did add a couple backup goaltenders, as we referenced this summer, so it'll be something just to keep an eye on. How much do they run him early in the year? Do they try to give him little breaks in the action? And listen, we all know players want to play. We get that. But I think the past couple seasons, seeing those numbers, regardless of the reasons why, maybe it's defensive problems up front or whatever, but still those numbers don't resonate well. Giving him a little more rest, it can't hurt as you go through the season. Uh, So again, unless the wheels fall off for Hellebuck or the team is just ravaged with injuries, I do still think this is a playoff team going into next season. The only real roster concerns I have, but really is the overall just defensive depth. And that could be answered. It could be answered from the AHL. You do still have a little bit of cap space available, so something that could be addressed as the season goes on. We'll see what happens there. Um, yes, the Central is loaded. Yes, I believe Nashville could pass them in the standings, but I don't see anybody else at the bottom of that Central division really making a legitimate push this year. The Blues, the Wild, Utah, I think still have too many question marks at this point for me to put them, in any position to be a real threat to Winnipeg's playoff chances as we go. So I do have them hanging out the Shire, do have them drinking with the Hobbits. They're sitting there with Nashville, with Dallas, with Colorado, just waiting for the playoffs to start, having an extra pint. Um, should be a fun division. I think once Nashville made their moves and Dallas and Colorado still look really tough, this is going to be a really, really tough, really fun division to watch this season. And I just can't wait to get the puck dropped here. We are under 2 months away now before the NHL starts. We are just about 2 months away before my Maine Mariners start as well here in the East Coast League. So just can't get here soon enough. But anyway, guys, that's what I have for you today. Thank you so much for listening. Montreal Canadiens will be up next. If you like what you're hearing, please don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I do appreciate that. And until next time, be kind, show love, and God bless.